disassembly of the, well, a complete disassembly of the Empire Mini. Basically the same internals as any other Mini on the market, and the internals are very similar to those of the Empire Axe. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is take out the bolt. I've already pre-loosened this screw. This screw is a 3.0 metric Allen key, and you just unloosen it and you can unscrew it, and it's finger tight. And you're going to stick your finger down the breech and push out the bolt, and it should pop out, and you will have your spring, the bolt itself, and then basically the bolt shaft, whatever you want to call it. This is a well, a lot of people like to call it a inline poppet or something, but it's really a pressure controlled poppet. So that's basically how it fires. The poppet controls how much airflow goes to the bolt to fire the paintball. I'm going to put this bolt to the side. The spring is directional. One thing to note is if you put it on the wrong way, as such it will not click and stay on. This one you can put it and then it won't come off. The next thing you want to do is, I think we can remove the ball detents. I'm not totally sure what the size is on this. I think it's a 2.0. Yes, so a 2.0 metric Allen key. I Loctiteed these in. Hopefully don't strip them out. Last time I did something like this, I did. Wow. Okay. And you can pull out the ball detents. I suggest you Loctiting them in because after about a full auto fire, they get pretty loose. So if they're not Loctited in, they can come out, back out on their own. These are spring ball detents. This is spring tension. I really like these detents other than they can back out. They don't chop and they prevent chops basically, so that's good. Put those to the side. The V-neck is a bitch to remove, so I wouldn't recommend you doing it unless if you're going to put on a nano or something if you can find one. The next thing we'll remove is the foregrip. I think we need a 1.5 Allen key, not totally positive, let me double check. Yes, no. I believe it is a 2.0. No, it's not. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so it is a standard, and I think it is a 1/16 Allen key. So you're going to need to remove the foregrip. Just loosen up the screws. You don't want to completely back them out. They're going to be a bitch to get off, or they're going to be a pain in the butt to put back in. This one's really tight. Tighten that a little bit. Basically loosen them up a little bit. And the foregrip will slide off, supposedly. Alright, let me loosen up this one just a bit more. Alright, so the foregrip comes off. This holds the board in place. To remove the board out of it, I'm going to take that 2.0 Allen key, and you're just going to unscrew the screw here. And the board will supposedly slide out. You're going to also need to unscrew the bottom. These two screws are identical, so you're not going to have to worry about getting them mixed up. They are both 2.0 to unscrew. We use a 2.0 Allen key. The two screws, just the bolt screw, put that to the side. The plate will come off. You want to unhook your battery. And the board will come out. If you just wiggle it a little bit. I'm going to attempt it from the other side. I haven't done this in a while, so sorry, I don't technically remember how to do all this. Easiest, simplest, fastest way. I'm going to unhook the battery harness to make it easier to come out. Pull it from the the socket, and it should come out. There you have your foregrip. You can replace this. You can actually, I'm pretty sure you can put on an Empire, or the Empire Axe foregrip. I'm not totally positive on that. Don't count me on that, but I think you can put that in front. Next, we'll remove the grip frame. It is the same screw used to remove the bolt, which was a 3.0 Allen key. It's pretty cool that Empire designed this so that you could go through the foregrip or the grip frame to remove the screw. Ball socket Allen keys, it's a little bit easier to get to it. You know, it's likely to strip. And just wiggle this slightly, slowly off. Alright. I'm not going to remove the grip or the ASA, mainly because the ASA is a pain to get back on. And if you are having issues, which I had this before I fixed it, sometimes the ASA, if you go and dive into the snake, it can wiggle and it will get loose, and eventually over time you might start having leaks. Basically what you want to do is remove all those screws. Sometimes from the factory they don't come far enough down and they're not catching on right, so it's going to excuse me, it's going to wiggle, so you're going to want to push those down a little bit more and then Loctite those screws in. So put that to the side. Right here you have your solenoid and your inline regulator. This is the female end of the regulator. You're going to want to unplug the solenoid. And you can unscrew it. I wouldn't recommend disassembling the solenoid unless you know what you're doing. You can damage it. Alright, and that unscrews. There is an O-ring on there. Beware of that. Just a heads up for that. And we can, I don't even think you might need to. Just unscrew the female end, I think it's called, of the regulator. Put that to the side. And you're going to unscrew all these screws. There is 7 on here, I think. Yeah, 7. Sorry, it takes quite a bit to put these, or to take these all out. And once you remove that last one, the green plate will slide off, or whatever color it is. You will have that weird O-ring here, and then you'll have the board for the eyes. Wiggle that a little bit and it'll come out. I don't want to take it out, mainly because it's a pain in the butt to put back in. A lot of this stuff you don't need to do for normal maintenance. I'm just showing you where it is and how to take it out. So that's it. I'm going to put the back plate back on and we'll reassemble the gun. That's really as far as you want to go with the Mini. I mean, there's not much left other than there's the board there, obviously, or the eyes there, and then there's that's not sitting flush. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, I'm mainly a little bit sick. Not really thinking straight too much. Start with the back screw. screw down, and we will screw all these back in. I might not edit this out mainly because it shows some of the problems. Well, not really the problems, but the basically some stuff. What a normal paintball goes through. I'm trying to take apart his crap. Two more. I have only taken this off once, so I'm not the best at disassembling all this stuff. I will re-lube all the parts that I touched, mainly because last time I took this off, I unscrewed the female end of the regulator, which we just unscrewed from this green part, and I aired it up and it was leaking, and it was because that O-ring there I had touched and wiped some of the grease off of it, so slightly problematic, and started to leak. Alright, so next what we're going to do is take the female, yep, there again, I touched it. Damn it. Alright, I guess I'll just unscrew that for you. Okay, so I'm going to re-lube that O-ring there. It's a dynamic O-ring, but probably want to get some lube on that. You take the Dow 33 they give you, and I'm going to wipe off all the grease. Put some more grease on here. Get a little bit on my finger. And you don't need to go super heavy with this. I'm going to put a little bit more. Just enough. Put a little bit on the threads. And I'm going to, it's the big one back here. I'm going to go left till you hear it click. There you go. And then you can screw it in. I do not suggest you taking it to a vice grip. You do not need to do that. Finger tight is great and fine. Put a little bit more because I wiped some off. Just don't want it to leak when I air it up again. Alright. That O-ring on the solenoid did not come with grease on it, so I'm not going to put any as such. It's very greasy now. Take a clean microfiber, just wipe off the grease that's on the solenoid outside, because that's not going to do anything, and it's really just getting it in the way. Alright, tighten it down, plug it back in. This is where, this is like lubing your regulator basically, because this is where the air goes through, so if it's going to leak, it's most likely going to leak through anywhere that needs to be sealed properly. And I'm going to take the normal foregrip frame sort of thing, so to speak, and put this back on. Make sure it's sitting flush. And I'm going to take the shorter screw and I'm going to screw it in. I'm going to put this to the side for now, and I'm going to reassemble the foregrip. Basically, all you're going to want to do is take the board so that the blue and the white connectors go in first. Wiggle it in there. Make sure you have it all nice and flush. And you're going to see that the black part and the LED need to line up here. And now I'm going to take one of the two screws. They're identical. Therefore, it does not matter which one you take out or use to put back in, and I'm going to screw this in to the board and it will stay there. I'm going to take the battery harness and see if I can get it connected. I doubt it now. I hope I don't have to take this off again. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to take it off. That's a tip. If you're doing this, you're going to want to take the board, push push it out of its place, wiggle it a little bit, see if you can get it out of its place, and take the board out, put the stay back in there. Nope, that did the first time. Alright, and push the connector in, take the battery harness, push it down, twist it. You want to twist it a little bit to the left. And now you can screw it. Oops. Okay. And now you can screw the screw back in. Sorry folks, I haven't done this much, mainly, and that really represents that I've had it for a year and only done it 2 or 3 times. So I do not take this off regularly, because if your gun's not having problems, you don't need to take it apart. I'm just doing it to show you, and as you can tell, I am not very good at it. Should stay in, turns on, alright. And you're just going to put the battery plate back on, and screw it in with that same screw you had out earlier. You don't really need to Loctite any of these screws down. It's not that, it's not really needed. The screw that holds the board in place is actually held in place by here. There's these 2 screws here, and basically they're just strictly friction holding it on. These screws are probably the worst screws to remove. You do not want to remove these screws. They're such a pain in the butt. Alright, solenoid's working. Obviously, after you do all this, you're going to want to, so I'm going to put in the eyes, or the detents first. See, a lot of people call these the eyes. They're not the eyes, they are strictly the detents. The eyes were on that green board sort of thing. Just put a drop of blue Loctite on the threads. Alright, that's good enough. Let's take this. And one thing to mention is when you screw these in, screw them in all the way. You don't need to wrench it down really. See, now that you're putting Loctite on it, you don't really have to. And you're going to stick your finger in the breech, and you're going to push on the detent, and it should spring back. And that's good. Sorry, my hands are quite greasy. I don't know that I'll have this Mini much longer. I don't know if I'm going to be selling it to my friend. If I get a new gun, I will, for Christmas. If I get a new gun, I will. Not totally sure. Alright, put that bolt back in. And obviously when you do this, you're going to want to go air up your gun, make sure there's no leaks. If there's no leaks, you did it correctly, and you put it all back together and you can store it again. Take that screw wherever the hell it is. I don't know where I put the screw. Dang it. Alright, well, okay, it's already in there. Alright. I feel stupid now. As you can see, it is quite a struggle for me. I mainly